Welcome everybody. This is the onboarding call B for the for the mentors of open hardware makers for the cohort 1. Thank you everyone for making the time to be here. You can see on the first slide that we have the link to this presentation. You can find it later. We can also put the link on the chat. And so, Julieta, could you please move to the next one?
Yeah.
And so, as you know, we've been in communication already, but basically, Julieta, Alex, and me, we've been organizing this program. Can you move to the next one, please? And today we're going to do a brief 30-minute session about why, what, how, all of the, we're not going to talk about all of the modules, but we're going to show you how the modules are structured for the program. We're going to talk about the mentor role, the expert role, and then we're going to have time for Q&A for another 30 minutes or so. The intent of this is to make you all feel very comfortable with the program and what we want to achieve and what your roles are and how we can support you and how you can support the mentees and how with this we can actually, in the end, in the long run, have very nice open source hardware projects out there in the world, right? So why did we start with this, right? And so if you've been working in the open source space for a little while, or even if it's just started recently, you most likely already heard some or all of these questions, right? So one of them, which is quite common, is like, oh, we are an open source project, but we don't have the code released yet. And once we have a mature, stable version and clean, we're gonna release the documentation as open source. And a lot of times, for instance, this ends up never happening because developers feel it's never ready, right? And this is one of the things we've heard over and over, and this actually hurts both the project and also the community, because then you get less opportunity to collaborate and to work on open projects, right? So some people might have questions about, so instance, it's open, but I don't want it to make it commercial. And then we're also going to talk about these aspects. Is that a better thing? Is that a worse thing to do? Or another very common one, we started from scratch to build this thing sometimes, and this is a very common example, an air quality monitor. And we just started from zero because we wanted to, right? And there was no thought and no purpose on why you're actually starting yet another project instead of collaborating with the many existing ones. So taking all of those things together, it was clear that there needed to be a source of material where we share best practices for people to hop on to the open source hardware space, or actually start making, let's say, more meaningful and long-term contributions to it. Right? Can you move to the next one, Julieta, please? And so open source hardware, so open hardware makers was created, which is basically, as we've been talking about already, a mentorship program sharing best practices in open hardware. Then the next, yeah. So what does it look like? You have an open hardware project, and we are open to pretty much any stage of the project. The only thing we want is that people that apply have worked a little bit on their project, so it's not just an idea, right? And something that they put together like in a document and release it in the open. I mean, at least for now, for this first cohort, we want people to have like a little bit of, like, let's say, skin in the game and a little bit of time invested in their projects, but still could be in the very early stages, right? And so what happens is that people apply with this. We're going to have a selection process. We're going to pair them with a mentor, in this case, one of you. Then throughout 16 weeks, people are going to go over 8 modules. Every module takes 2 weeks. Like, we gave participants 2 weeks to complete each module. And then within these 2 weeks, there's going to be on 1 week a call with the mentor, one of you, and one call with the community, the first cohort in this case, where they're going to talk about how was completion of that module, what worked, what didn't work, how things went, and they're going to review a little bit of what each other did. Then at some point in the program, there's going to be a global sprint where people are going to prepare their documentation for a public demo. So they'll be already a little bit past midway of the program. And then they're going to prepare this for a public demo, which is an online call where we're going to record and hopefully put into our networks and put it into the space that we're creating for this program. We're going to also help people with getting visibility for their projects. Also, in the middle of this program, there'll be an expert assessment. So we have a pool of experts and we're going to invite them to look at all the documentations of the different projects and like give a peer review from their point of view, what could be improved, what could be, what is nice, what could be improved, and what could be made to move projects forward. So this is how we're going to do this whole thing. The curriculum that we have now is based on a previous pilot that we did 2019, 2020. And basically what we did, the three of us, we were working in a different working group with this other project, and the three of us decided that we wanted to take the curriculum in a different direction and do a public consultation. And so we basically forked our own pilot program and started working on this, the three of us. And what we did was we put the curriculum available online. As you can see on the bottom right side, we asked the community to make comments on a public document. And we were very happy to have a lot of comments and a lot of suggestions from various groups and very diverse people from very diverse backgrounds. And so with all of those comments in this document, we actually got some funding from Mozilla, from the Mozilla Foundation, and we were able to pay some experts to actually then come in and condense all of these comments and make sense of all of the many comments we had and give it kind of a guideline, like where the curriculum should be, in which direction should it be going, given all of these comments. With these condensed comments from the experts and the community comments, the three of us sat down and revised the whole thing and put new content and changed what needed to be changed. And so now I'll pass it on to Alex, who's actually going to talk about the curriculum itself. Thank you.
Yeah, we will talk about the curriculum a bit more, and later then more about your role, the mentor's role, the expert's role, and so on, and about other things Andre already introduced. So the curriculum has several modules. We have 7 modules with content, and they all consist also out of sub-modules, which I will show you later. And we calculated 2 weeks for each module, and then the introduction and the outro as well. So we have in total a 16-week program. As you already know, as I already said, we have sub-modules for each of the modules, and the sub-modules are composed like that. So we have usually a content part where we give some background, for example, or a background story, and show like reasons for why this is important. We tell you, for example, like in the very beginning about not reinventing the wheel. That's one of our first modules we have in the program, and so on. But that's what the participants will read and work through. But we also will introduce it in a cohort call. But then there are, for every 2 weeks, there are assignments to do. Each submodule has assignments and in the end also resources. The resources are partially optional to read, but some are well more or less mandatory because you need them to fulfill, for example, the assignments. But that's how we collect, and that's how we set up all the submodules. So something we want to talk to you about more is how the mentor meetings are or should be or can be structured. So more also about your role as a mentor in our program. During each mentor meeting, you will discuss a module of the curriculum with all its subunits, submodules. And yeah, what does this mean? You should actually take a look at it yourself and then talk with the mentee about like how did they feel about it? Is something unclear? Is there like something you want to add, for example? It's important that you see or look how your mentee is progressing through the assignments as well. So you should also take a look at what they did. And you can suggest additional resources, or if you have contacts in a particular field and if the mentee might need help for a particular thing where you know somebody who is good at it, you can connect them to them. And so what we encourage them is that the mentees will document their meetings in the Gosh forum, not only encourage, so this is mandatory. So they will all document what you are talking about, like the main things they will document in the forum. Of course, not personal things. They decide what they want to share. If there is some personal information also shared during the meetings, that's not what we want from them. But yeah, for you now, you will follow the program, and each mentor meeting then has basically a topic. But yeah, as it says on the bottom left, don't worry, we will send you an email for each mentor meeting, basically for every second week. And we will tell you what's up, which module you have to look at, and what you should discuss with your mentee. The cohort meetings are happening like every other week. So when no mentor meeting is happening. And just for you to know what happens during the call, we do a peer review of the assignments. So the participants will review each other. And then we also want to encourage interaction between the mentees, between the projects, and we'll have a lot of time for that set aside. And we will also present talks on topics. And if we have invited speakers, there will be also a Q&A with the invited speakers. In general, just for you to know, the cohort calls are not mandatory for mentors, but you are always welcome to join. They are mainly for the participants. We will send them in breakout rooms, breakout sessions, and have them discuss. But you are always welcome to join and discuss with them. So Andre already introduced this. We will also have an expert review in the middle of the program. But not only during this time, but through the whole program, projects have access to experts of various domains. So we are now preparing the information we already got from our contacts, and we will put them all on our website. This is where you can also check them out. And you are always free to contact an expert, contact us to contact an expert, so we can also connect you with them. And then we will set up a meeting with your mentee, with your project, but you are also welcome to join. So it's a meeting with the three of you or more if it's a project team. And yeah, we just really encourage you to be open to also invite an expert to your mentor meetings, or get in contact. Just let us know, drop us an email. Also, if you have a question how this should work. But what we also implemented now in this, this is a part which is, well, more or less new, is the expert review. As Andre already said, the experts will review the projects, their progress, give feedback, and give advice. And maybe this is also a good point to connect maybe to an expert which might be able to help maybe in a technical way with the project. So we will also have a global sprint, which prepares the mentees and their projects for a public call, because this is also a huge goal of our program, that there is a presentation at a public call where the mentees can, well, share more information about their project and basically pitch it. So as I already said, in preparation for that, we organize a weekend with a global sprint, which is optional for you to participate. So you can also participate and help projects if they need help. You can help also your mentee, but that's up to you. And what we want them to do is to polish their project, to prepare their, basically their presentation, their pitch. And then the public call is live streamed, will take place in week 13. And what you can already do is think of ways how you can support your mentee, so they can they can prepare a great demo. In the end, we will have, of course, a closing meeting, not only with the mentees, but also with you. We will have meeting. And the goal for this meeting is to debrief what worked and what also did not work. We want to collect feedback, and not only from mentors, but also from the mentees and experts. And we want to get to know, like, we want to know your experience during the program, because you can already imagine we are really keen on in getting all the feedback we can get, because we don't want to stop improving. We will rework the curriculum if necessary. You can also contribute to it. It's all hosted on GitHub. So if you see something, even if it's just a typo, just file a pull request. That's super easy. And but you can also write us a message. That's no problem, or leave an issue, create an issue for that. But yeah, this program, this curriculum is built from feedback from the community, and as I said, we don't want to stop that. It's a developing program. So Juli will give you a quick recap about all the information we just shared with you.
Hi everyone. So I'm aware that it's a lot of information to absorb in 20 minutes or 15 minutes. And don't worry, we will be, besides sending you the emails, we will be interacting a lot through the GOSH forum, and you will find resources for you, for your mentor activity also there. But just to recap, the important messages are that you will meet with your mentee every 15 days. At the start of the program, you will be matched with your mentee, and you will have to schedule the meetings, these meetings every 15 days. Every other week, the mentee will have the cohort meeting. You are invited to participate, but it's not mandatory. And in this pairs of mentor and cohort meetings, the mentee will be working in one unit of the curriculum. So what we really want to emphasize here, which is the second bullet point, we want to have early information about how mentees are doing the program. So one of the ways to do that we ask you is quite simple, is we will be sharing with you a spreadsheet that looks like this, not exactly like this, because this is from the previous program, but quite like that. And you will have one row assigned to each project. So you will have to find your name in the mentors column, and just after each meeting happened or not, you just go to that week and select the option. It will be a drop-down menu. The meeting happened, the meeting did not happen, and add some notes if the meeting happened, or if you want to add any note about that. So that will allow us to have some tracking on how the mentees are doing, but also it's very important, you are the one-to-one contact point with mentees. We can come and jump in if there is any problem, but in order to learn if there is any problem, we need you to be very, to pay a lot of attention to how the mentee is feeling about the program. We are doing this edition quite a lot of work in the selection process, making sure that people are very aware what they are signing up to, but still there may be some dissonance between when people sign up to a program and what they expect from the program and what the program is about. We are working hard on aligning those, but anyway, especially during the weeks, I would say 1, 2, and 3, just be very, very paying a lot of attention to try to understand if the mentee is doing well, but also you will see during your first mentor call, sorry, you will be setting goals for the whole program with your mentee. And you will see this better in the mentor training that will happen on the 22nd and on March, we'll see that later. But one of the goals for you as a mentor will probably to scope down the project. These are only 16 weeks, it's a limited program, and mentees usually are very excited about their projects and want to do a lot of things. So we want to avoid frustration. And one of your main goals or your main roles you will have as a mentor is to try to detect which are SMART goals for this program, okay? We will have check-ins with you around week 2 or week 3. We will communicate with you and ask you, hey, how is your mentee doing? We will give you some feedback form to fill in. But mostly, I would say, if you make sure that this spreadsheet is complete just after every meeting, and if you are listening to the mentee and provide feedback early when we ask you for feedback, we should be okay. Some important commitments to make this work. Make sure that you attend one of the certified training sessions. This session is an introduction to the program, but that is proper mentor training, right? Mentor is not the same as coaching, it's not the same as an expert, it's not the same as a very supportive friend. So we want you to fully understand what being a mentor is, and we want you to have the tools for that. And also, it's always good to have it certified. You never know when it can become useful. There are 3 options. If you haven't signed up, if you haven't expressed your preference from one of those, please do so as soon as possible. As I mentioned, track if meetings happen or not happen in the spreadsheet. We will give you access to this. This is very, very important. If you cannot make a meeting, we understand that life comes in the way. This can happen. Try to let us know as soon as possible. You have this cycle of every 15 days. So we expect that at least if you can, with a week of anticipation, if it's very, very urgent and something happened in the very same day, that is okay, but let's try to minimize those situations. And also try to be as responsive as you can with our emails. We have the GOSH forum. We will talk about the GOSH forum in a minute, but for some specific communications about how mentees are progressing, the feedback, maybe those are better through email. And you should expect to receive an email from us at the start, on Monday, at the start of every week. If you follow those emails, you will have all the information you need to continue with the 16 weeks of the program. So we would like to invite you. I don't know if someone can copy that URL in the chat box. We invite you to go to that URL, and we are going to ask you some questions so we can discuss about mentorship and the program. I'm going to pause the sharing here. And
Shared on the chat already.
1 second. Do you see the change in my screen now? Yeah, okay. So if you go to that URL, you will be able to input some replies to this question. In your opinion, what makes a good mentor? You can think of this from your experience. Maybe you have been a mentee of someone at some point in your life, or you have been a mentor, or you have like an ideal mentor in your head. How does that look like? Okay. Active listening.
The transcript, the transcript wrote down activism.
Oh, I am not seeing the live transcript for some reason. So yeah. Punctuality, point issues early, active listening, give some overview, kindness, listening. Interesting. Do you, Alex or Andrew, do you want to pick some of this?
Challenger. So Challenger, that's something I find quite interesting. I don't know if the person wants to share more about this, but I feel like, yeah.
Yes, Cesar, do you want to share?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's on product development, a lot of the things, I mean, I am the challenger, and it's about why are you doing this, right? Trying to push the people to really think beyond the box. I like your concept on the do not reinvent the wheel. But sometimes actually a wheel does need reinventing. And the fact that something exists doesn't mean that it cannot be made better or more efficient for multiple different reasons. So sometimes actually reinventing the wheel is what actually makes sense. Otherwise, space tourism wouldn't be where it is today. So it's just about trying to push the boundaries, right? Let's not be happy with the way we've always done it. Let's just challenge the status quo and go beyond it. Put people outside of a comfort zone.
Ask the right questions, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you will see more about this in the mentor training, but asking questions is probably the best way to approach mentoring. Always considering giving like useful feedback and trying also to be very receptive to how people are. Some people take questions better than others. No, that's also true. So how we can sense how the person is receiving those. But I agree that challenge is a nice one. I like that we have punctuality here. That is quite important, and it did not appear yesterday. Yes, please do be on time. Andrea, do you want to comment on any other?
So I mean, something that came up yesterday as well, right, which is also here today, is this idea of inspiring the mentee. But yesterday was more of a question in terms of what to do when the mentees are not inspired to work, right? So whoever wrote this one, would you like to make a comment on what you were thinking and what was your idea by putting inspiring the mentee?
Okay, so what I was thinking here was, I was thinking, so during the program, I think in a mentor-mentee relationship, the mentees will be like looking up to the mentors. So you need to find ways of inspiring them to work hard and to achieve some of these things that they will be working on. Because I think the journey will be challenging and sometimes, and they will be looking for inspiration to do it. So as a mentor, you should always be there and inspiring them to strive and work hard and improve on their solutions. So I think it's being inspiring the mentees, one of the qualities that will make a good mentor, because at the end of the day, with enough inspiration, they will be able to achieve their goals and successfully finish the program.
Yeah. So, yeah, do you want to make a comment, Willie?
No, I remember from yesterday, there was a comment saying that a mentor helped this person unstuck, get from, like, move on from a situation that was making the mentee feel really stuck. And I feel, Ronald, that is super important what you're saying. As a mentee with a project, sometimes you're feeling demotivated because something is not working, and you don't get the big picture. And a mentor should definitely help in that situation.
Okay, does anybody else wants to make another comment or talk about something specific?
Yeah, I would like to make a comment.
Yeah, Antonio?
So, for me, the best mentors I ever had were the ones that show me a direction of where to find good sources of information, like related to my project. And at the same time, the ones that help me to find the answers to clarify my own project, the purpose of my project, and also the steps that I needed to accomplish in order to fulfill those purposes. So I think those two things make a difference in my career with good mentors.
Okay, thanks. So yeah, so I think the first one that you said really goes also together with the inspiring bit, right? Which is all of you are experienced in the space of open source and your own specific spaces where you've been encountering open source, and therefore you have networks and knowledge that it's really would be super important for the mentees to get supported by that as well, right? So basically sometimes just opening doors and saying, look, you should talk to this person. I'm going to put you an introduction email and so on. This really helps a lot. And it doesn't require much, right? Like it's a 5-minute email that you write and unlocks a lot of things, right? And goes, I guess, in line with what you're saying, right, Antonio?
Yes, totally. Those emails for networking make a difference most of the time. So, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Great. So thanks for this comment. I think, yeah, it plugs well with all of the other things we were saying.
Yes. Yes, because the perspectives of the mentee can be so enlarged if they have access to the networks of the mentor, right? Is such a difference. Usually when you start with a project, you are just limited to your own networks and could be somehow small. Not always the case, but usually the case.
And for
yeah.
Go ahead, Alex.
I'm sorry. So for us, it's also important that we create entry points with this program. So we want to get more people into communities, into different open hardware communities, and sharing your network is creating an entry point. That's just the thing I wanted to add.
I wanted to add something about this with the network. So also, and we already said this, but we want to keep saying this over and over so that people really feel comfortable with this idea, is that we are also providing networks of experts and other people. And we're going to talk about the GOSH forum, but this is also why we embedded most of our communications within the GOSH forum, because we want people to have access to talk to as many other people as possible. So you as a mentor, in case you don't have somebody in mind for a specific thing, again, I'm just repeating what we said, but make sure to get in touch and maybe ask us directly or in the GOSH forum if you feel comfortable, because we definitely will know someone that knows someone, right?
Yes.
At the very least. So yeah,
Absolutely.
just wanted to add that. Yeah.
Just not to avoid the elephant in the room, the biggest one was active listening. And I think in my experience, the best mentors I had were those who, as Cesar was saying, guided me through questions and through listening instead of jumping into giving me advice just like that, right? I think that's quite a relevant feature of a good mentor. Do you think we're okay to jump to the next question? Okay.
I think so. Unless anybody else wants to add anything, but you can also write on the chat and then we cover that.
Yeah, so if you go to the same URL, and now we are trying to get the other side of the picture, which are the challenges that can appear during mentoring? Challenges that you may have encountered yourself as a mentee or as a mentor. Challenges that you heard maybe from someone else. And maybe we can anticipate those little. Again, we needed the background music.
Dum, 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 dum,
Yeah.
dum, 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 dum.
Well, big one there, the mentee not responding. So I have something to say about this, but Andrea, do you want to say something because you just unmuted yourself?
No, actually, I was just,
okay.
Yeah. I mean, you can say something that I can, yeah.
So mentee not responding is something that is a risk that we're trying to address in different ways. So the first barrier, the first contingencies for that is a very good selection process. We are now, the selection process in this edition is different. We are asking mentees to submit a motivation letter. We are trying to fully understand their motivation for joining this program, and they won't be selected if that motivation isn't very clear. That is number one. Number two is that we are keeping communications with the mentee very high between the organizer team and the mentee during the first weeks of the program. So, so we can avoid this, and so we can understand if the mentee's expectations are aligned with what's going on. But anyway, it could happen that mentees are not responding. So what would you do in that case? I would say the earlier the better, contact us. You have an open channel with us during the whole life of the program. And you can do that using the Gosh forum with a private message. Again, it's like a surprise, but no, we're going to talk about the Gosh forum later. You can send us an email, but please let us know, even if you have like a hint of a doubt about this mentee. I don't know, the person didn't seem to be very engaged, is taking long to reply to emails, is joining the meeting super late, and I don't know, not completing the assignments. All those reasons are absolutely valid for contacting us.
Yeah. So you are there for the mentee, we are here for you. So please, our ears are always open also to anything which comes up. And if we can help you also by just listening, that we will do that. You can always contact us, and we will provide entry points, also like office hours where you can have meetings with us. To talk also about some of the other things like time zone differences, language and personal differences, we are trying. So what we are doing, we will pre-select, we will filter the applications, and then share some options with you, and we try to match them already. So we are looking at time zone differences and try to match you with the person who is maybe in the same time zone, and also with the languages. We are trying to see that maybe there's actually a shared native language. That's why we were asking you which languages you are speaking. And and what else? Focusing on the I think Juli already answered or responded to some of those level of objectives to the program not clear, expectations too high. That's also something we want to limit or want to avoid by having our application process like it is right now. So we set the bar a bit higher this time, and we are expecting applications with a higher quality. And from the applications we already got, we feel like we were successful with that, and we want to really make clear what people can expect from the program and what not.
Yeah, but there is also a big work there to do in the first meeting, right?
Yes.
I think we didn't mention this. When mentees arrive to the first meeting with you, they have already been reading the OHM basics, which is how, like a meeting like this one, but writing down how the program works. And then they also should have read the first unit, which is Welcome to Open Hardware Makers. And that is all aimed to kind of gently introduce them to the topic, but also to produce a self-assessment. So your first meeting is not that the mentee arrives to that meeting with nothing, okay? You should be able to discuss where the mentee considers the project is at and where they would like to take it. This information was already in the application, but you will be able to discuss it in concrete, and which are, again, the very specific and achievable goals that can be proposed for the 16 weeks. I think if that meeting is well framed, let's say it's well done, it solves many of the issues that are here in the screen now. But it's an iterative process, right? So you formulate those goals, I mean, with the mentee formulates those goals, and you kind of check on those goals every meeting and see through the assignments how these goals are achievable or not. And you are absolutely free to reframe those goals if those goals were indeed not achievable.
I think the last one we did not talk much about is the one on the bottom left. Mentees can be demotivated, disengaged, changes in personal circumstances, original idea turns out to be flawed. After a deep dive, mentor jumping to conclusion too fast, not focusing on the purpose problems that needs solving. Well,
that is like a 6-in-1.
Yeah. So we will help you with everything, like which in regards to the mentor and also with the mentee. We also try to keep track. That's why we have also the spreadsheet. We need you to be also like carefully listening to your mentee to see if there are signs of demotivation and so on. Then we can also talk to each other and see how we can change that, how we can help. Best thing is to understand why or the reason behind this motivation. Changes in personal circumstances, they can happen. That's absolutely fine. If there is something coming up also for you, for the mentors, not only the mentees, but if there's something coming up and there's some changes, please just let us know as early as possible, obviously. But if you, things happen. Things to be flawed after a deep dive. Well, that's also possible. That can happen, and that's also fine to happen because you learned something or they learned something, and maybe
it will be interesting to document those, right?
Exactly, and maybe there is a way where you can turn this project also into something different together.
And we are open to this. It's not that projects apply with a format and they cannot change during the 16 weeks. No, the idea is that this is, there are like 3 goals: a reusable, inclusive, and sustainable project. If the formulation of the project is not pointing towards those, and you can work with a mentee so they can be better oriented towards achieving that, go all for it. We're open to it. I think the most relevant thing here is that those decisions, those discussions are documented. Just FYI, documenting the meetings is a responsibility of the mentee. It's not your responsibility, okay? I just want to talk very briefly about level of understanding between the two, because this could happen. We may propose a match and there's no feeling, sometimes it happens. It's like, and we will share with you and with the mentee a feedback form after the first meeting so you are able to tell us, yes, this went great, or you know what, I really cannot work with this person. I'm sorry, there's something there, we just cannot make it work. We would be really unhappy to read that, but it can happen. We hope there is like a minimum, like this is the last resort, no? Usually we would expect a justification on why things don't work. But if you really think that there is something really wrong about this interaction, you can totally tell us and we will try to accommodate the change. Again, this is after the very first meeting. Are we okay to move? Yeah, okay. So now just open Q&A. We have 10 minutes, let's say, for open questions. You can either put them in the link, or you can unmute yourself and just ask. I see there are some in the chat. Is there a MOU for the mentors to guide them on what they should deliver? MOU as memorandum of understanding, I guess. There is expectations for the mentor's role. There is not like a formal MOU, let's say, which we could. It's an interesting suggestion. We can discuss that. Do you want to unmute yourself? What would you like to see in an MOU, for example? I don't know if he is. Yeah.
Are you getting me?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. What I was trying to say is like maybe we should have an MOU will also describe what you're gonna do and what time and all this type. What should you deliver? What is gonna be under you? You say, because if you have this MOU, you already know what you can deliver. You can start doing research because you know exactly on your way you're gonna have this and that and that. So, and also MOU also shows you what kind of services are going to be given back to you doing what you are doing. You understand?
Yeah, I totally understand. It's like a written agreement, basically, for those who don't know what an MOU is. It's a written agreement where you sign what you're going to provide. And basically, it's an agreement of what we're going to do, what is expected from us, and also what is expected from the mentee, I guess. This is interesting. We have not considered doing it this way, but we could definitely discuss it. And I think up to now, we've been embedding those agreements in the role descriptions that have different expectations for each role. I think you saw one of the role descriptions when we mentioned the experts. They are on the website, but it's a good suggestion, and I think we can definitely consider it. Instead of an MOU, how about okay, we are all about the acronyms today. What is an R, Cesar?
Roles and responsibilities. The downside of an MOU is a signed document. It's a bit too formal.
Yeah.
Yeah. R's and R's is a lot more informal. It just says, this is what we expect from a mentee. This is what we expect from a mentor. This is what you can expect from the experts. So that everybody is clear for everybody what the rules are. And it's not signed, it's just given.
I think that's what we aim for with the role descriptions in the website, but we can totally improve those and make them more refined, because we included time commitments mostly, and I think we could disaggregate those commitments in more items. I agree that an MOU is something I would sign for a research project or something different.
So I think if people are like, I would just like to make sure we address the comment that Stanley made a while ago about our communication platform. And so just to finalize, so Alex, Julieta, and I, we're going to look into MOUs and Rs and then update the mentors as we have come up with suggestions and ideas on how to implement this, if that's okay for everybody. And then towards Stanley's comment, like what is the main communication point? Platform for messaging, right? As we said, right, like some private things, if you want, you can send us via emails. But what we're trying to do, and hopefully, and this is the first time we're trying this, and hopefully this will work out, is to actually use the GOSH forum. And for those of you who do not know what GOSH is the Gathering for Open Science Hardware, which is basically a network of networks where, like, this started more or less around 2016, where people from all different sorts of spaces in this open source hardware came together and said, like, how can we put our minds and our networks together to achieve a common goal of making open hardware the norm for science instead of the exception by a certain specific date. And you can see that Alex is sharing on the chat the link to the forum itself. Julieta has on the screen as well what the forum looks like. Alex, could you please share our own threads specifically?
So I can quickly walk you to how to find it.
Yeah.
So this is the GOSH forum. If you follow the link that Alex shared, you will land here. This is the general. As Andrea mentioned, the GOSH forum is the forum for the GOSH community, which is much wider than Open Hardware Makers. But we have our space here in communities, and we're the ones with the logo here, or you can find us here. So this is our space, let's say. And if you want to, all the information, I would say this will be one of the main channels for communication. Beyond the emails that we will be sending you specifically about what to do each week, you will be able to find here your mentees documentation meetings, the cohort calls, documentation, the documentation of the experts review, documentation of the global sprint. I would recommend to start, here, which is a description of this category and how the tags work. Okay. Basically, if you want to start, let's say you want to post a question to the forum, you just go to new topic. This will create, this is this course for those of you who are not familiar with this forum. You just add something, say I have a question about X, and this course will start suggesting you similar topics as a good practice, so you don't ask something that was already asked. We don't have many threads now, so it's fine. You can edit here your question, and you have a preview here on the right side. And there are two things you have to consider when posting. First, that you are always here in communities Open Hardware Makers. If you go here, you will see all the structure of the Gosh forum, but just make sure you are here. This is Markdown, for those of you who like using Markdown, which is great. If you follow the link, the direct link that Alex shared to our category, you don't have to worry about this. You will always be here. If you do the same flow as I did, if you go to Mentees, Open Hour Makers, this will always be pre-selected, so you don't have to worry about it. The second thing you have to consider is that every single post needs 2 tags. And one will be for the cohort. All of us are now in cohort 1, okay? So that is cohort 1. And then it depends on what you're talking about. So if this is a question, it's question. If this is a report of a problem, it's a report. If this is a resource, it's a resource. There are other tags. You cannot create tags. The tags are limited by, these are all the tags that appear in our category. And you will see a description of all this in this introduction, okay? But it's quite easy. If you have a question, it's a question. If you have to report a problem, it's a report. If you have a resource, it's a resource. All the others are quite explanatory: mentor meetings, expert review, demo call, and those are specific for documenting our meetings. If you see, for example, well, if you want to create topic, you just go there and we will create one. I'm not gonna create one now. I'm gonna discard this. But if you see, we have already an introduction here, OHM intro. And what we would like you to do after this call is to create a user and just introduce yourself. Some people from the meeting yesterday already introduced themselves here. This is an introduction for mentors, okay? So just reply, add a couple of lines about yourself, and you are all set to go. Again, if you have any questions, you can post them to the forum, or you can message us directly. To message us directly, if you go to this about the category, you will see how to contact the organizing team. Our users are here. So you just click on there and oh my God, how to send a message to me. Do you know, Alex? I never did this. Or Andre, whoever wants to unmute themselves.
Yeah, give me a second. It's also something that sometimes I have a little bit of trouble with. But I have
That's
already sent messages. Yeah.
You can always access your messages from your user here, from this envelope. So here the platform is greeting me. But if I want to send a private message to a user.
Let me share my screen.
Yeah.
So I want to share this one. So I mean, you can already see, you can see my screen, right? So you can already see here. So for instance, let's say I want to send Julia a message, just click on her icon here, and then you can see message on that side, right?
I couldn't see that from here.
Yeah, that's fine. And then you can see it has the same format as the previous message, but then on the person receiving, it's not the thread itself, but just Julieta in this case. Right?
This might be a problem with your test user.
Yeah, but I'm afraid, okay, this is something to discuss between us. Maybe this is not something for new users to access, because my test user is just a new user called test.
I think there is a very low threshold for getting upgraded as a new user to someone who can send messages, but we can double check. Okay. It's just make sure that then there isn't like spammy people coming in and sending thousands of messages and so on.
That's true, probably that.
I think somebody had, Bjorn, do you have your raised hand? Do you want to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to say, like, I was caught in signing up for the website thing of Gosh, and then she was introducing something on how to use it, because I'm actually new. I think it's first time. So I wanted to tell her to a little bit start it again, or send another link where we can assess and see how to use it. Or yeah, that's why I raised my hand. It's been there for like 5 minutes.
Sorry, I didn't see that. No, that's okay. But we are recording this session also, so you don't have to worry about it. We will share the link to this recording so you can check that back. And also, if you go to the category, to the Open Hour Makers, and the main post that says start here, there is a little tutorial there on how to do this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're also aware of time, and we know it's coming close to the end of the session. So we just wanted to ask if anybody has pressing questions for now, and make sure that if you do have questions later on, also just either write on the forum, as we said, or send us an email, any way you want to communicate in any way you feel comfortable with. Yeah.
And something that came up yesterday, and Alex and I thought that was interesting, is that maybe we know this is a lot of information, but we will make a summary of everything a mentor needs: quick links, access, the schedule. Like, so every time you want to have like a quick gaze at what you need, you just go to that 2 pages document, and everything is in. We will be sharing that with you. And I think that summary is what you're referring to, Stanley. It was not on purpose, but yeah.
I want to ask something. Are you getting me?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. What I would like to ask is, like me, I'm always on my mobile data, and sometimes it breaks down. So I gotta find a stable internet or something like that. Is there a way you guys can come in and help me out to get that internet, or I just have to figure it out myself?
We can we can discuss that precisely with you, because if we have some support for data, maybe we can take that offline. Andrea, Alex, you think we can do it?
Yeah, we can. Yulin, you also have a question?
Yeah, I wanted to ask about the objectives. Is it all about the project? Is it about the people? And when we say open hardware, is it about better documentation, which is open, or is it also about community building? Because I was at the OLS mentorship program, and I want to see what the difference is.
So in general, we have a lot of focus on documentation because we think that it's important that the programs in the end are like the minimal viable open source project is reusable, and that's why we focus on the documentation, because it should be also possible for, like, for example, a university student to join for whatever, his bachelor or master's thesis with a project he does not want to maybe maintain in the future, but then we need like a standard, like a minimal documentation, a standardized build up of the project so everybody else can take it up and reuse it. That's what we are focusing on. There will be also some parts about like community, but if they don't want to build a huge community, then they don't have to. So we are just touching that.
Sorry, I just wanted to say I really need to leave. About the goals, just one comment again. For if you see the outline of the curriculum, the idea is that projects that are that come to open hardware through different pathways, a master's student's project, or someone who wants to create a business or educational project, or whatever reason why someone wants to make it open, produces a fully reusable project that lowers barriers, access for contributors to jump in. This may end up in a big community or not necessarily, and that it has a sustainable strategy for the future. Those are the goals of the program. I really need to go, and I see you later. Thank you for joining.
Have a nice day.
All right. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, more or less.
Okay. I mean, we can also take this discussion if you want, either to the forum or via email, something like that, right?
I think we'll go when working on it, and maybe a couple of weeks I come back with a question.
Okay, great. I think if there are no more questions, we would like to say thanks again for everybody who joined today. Thanks for your time. We appreciated the discussions and the questions. And as always, communication lines are open. We're going to send an email with all the links, with a summary. and the recording of this call, and we'll keep in touch. And hopefully we'll see you also in the mentor training that is following the next couple of days.